What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus package update, daily news, pretty much everything going on here in Washington, D.C., in the United States, and everything you need to know about. So remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will keep you up to date with the next stimulus package, which they're trying to pass in the House of Representatives, and everything going on with that and everything else. Remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so you don't miss out on new videos. And if you find these videos helpful, don't forget to hit the like button for us down below. Leader of the Republicans, Mitch McConnell in the Senate, says he won't go to the White House signing ceremony for the infrastructure bill, even though he voted for it in the Senate. He was one of the 19 Republicans that voted for the physical infrastructure bill in the Senate. And just a few days ago, he said that the infrastructure bill was a godsend for Kentucky. Yeah. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky, said on Thursday that he won't attend the White House signing ceremony for the physical infrastructure package deal that he voted for and has touted while in Kentucky this week, saying, quote, "No, I've got other things I've got to do other than going to this signing ceremony." And his support for this bill has sparked criticism from former President Donald Trump, who lashed out at the Senate Republican leader recently as this week, questioning in a statement why, quote, "old crow Mitch McConnell voted for a terrible Democratic socialist infrastructure plan." Ouch. Seems like not only are the Democrats fighting amongst themselves trying to pass this next stimulus package, but the Republicans are also fighting amongst themselves as well. Former President Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell have had bad blood for a while, and they continue to bash each other. It'll be interesting because remember that former President Donald Trump is expected to be the next Republican candidate for president and is expected to run for presidency against current President Biden, and there's expected to be a rematch there. It would be interesting to see if former President Donald Trump wins the presidency and Mitch McConnell is the Republican leader in the Senate, and they just don't get along at all. And yet he's the Republican leader in the Senate, and Donald Trump's the leader of the Republican for the presidency wise, and they just pretty much hate each other at this point and just bash each other in the media. It's just, it seems like Republican and Democrats are just they can't even get along with their own parties sometimes. Meanwhile, Mitch McConnell was saying that the infrastructure bill was a, quote, godsend for Kentucky just here 48 hours ago or so. He pointed to Kentucky's infrastructure report card from the American Society of Civil Engineers, which gave it a C-. He says, quote, "I'm surprised we even got a C. We have a lot of infrastructure needs, both in rural areas and with big bridges. It's a godsend for Kentucky." Meanwhile, so remember there was 19 Republicans that passed it in the Senate, and I believe it was 13 Republicans only that passed it in the House because House Minority Leader of the Republicans in the House, Kevin McCarthy, told all the Republicans to vote against it. Listen to what has happened since the 13 Republicans that helped pass it. Listen to this.
We start with a new wave of violent threats on the right. Surprise, surprise. And like the Capitol riots, which replaced the orderly transfer of power with deadly violence, it revolves around what used to be the routine workings of government, an infrastructure bill. President Biden planning to sign it next Monday after it passed the House with strong support from Democrats, as well as, shockingly, 13 House Republicans. And that's where the story kind of goes off the rails. The AP reporting today on the death threats now facing those 13 Republicans. Quote, harsh blowback that shows conservatives growing more militant, fanned by Trump's bellicose time in office. The Times detailing some of that blowback. Quote, one caller instructed Representative Adam Kinzinger of Illinois to slit his wrists and rot in hell. Quote, another hoped Representative Don Bacon of Nebraska would slip and fall down a staircase. A third lawmaker has been inundated with angry messages tagging her as a traitor. Marjorie Taylor Greene calling the 13 lawmakers traitors and tweeting out their office telephone numbers. Matt Gaetz making it clear this isn't about the policy of infrastructure. It's about 13 defectors failing to be partisan enough.
I can feel your blood pressure rising, Grant, and I'm right there with you. We had the Democrats on the ropes. We had the ability to make Joe Biden a lame duck president, to stop his agenda. The question for Leader McCarthy and the rest of our conference really is whether or not we will allow people to be designated as Republican leaders.
Yes, really, there was some worser stuff than that, but that was about the worst I wanted to show on this show and keep it as family friendly as possible. It's really sad that there's those kind of threats regarding infrastructure for our country that even Mitch McConnell says in his state is vastly needed. I mean, we haven't had infrastructure passed in many years at this scope in a long, long time. In fact, they actually called it this is the largest infrastructure bill passed ever. And honestly, if you heard Representative Matt Gaetz there, a Republican, saying that they're calling the Republicans in the House traitors and that they shouldn't have passed it only because it helps Biden, and that it's not that we don't need the infrastructure, it's that we could have, or that they could have basically sealed his deal as a lame duck president, and that it could have maybe lost him the presidency if the physical infrastructure package and this next stimulus package doesn't pass. So it's not that the Republicans don't want infrastructure, which is why Mitch McConnell and 19 Republicans in the Senate voted for it, and 13 Republicans in the House voted for it, because infrastructure is something that Republicans have always wanted, and that's the reason why it got any Republican votes. But Republican Representative Matt Gaetz is brutally honest there in saying that the Republicans that voted for it are, quote, essentially traitors because they voted for something that the country needs and that Republicans have always been for, but they're traitors because it helps out Biden. So it could help him get reelected in 3 more years from now. So they're really not doing what the country needs or what people need or what. And remember, because this next stimulus package is for people, the last stimulus package was for people. Not a single Republican voted for that as well. So he was brutally honest. You heard him say that there is that Biden could have been a lame duck president, but the Republicans were traitors and voted for it. Is that what Congress has come down to? Don't vote for the other party because you could help out the other party, not what the actual people need or what the country needs or what our economy needs or what the United States needs. It's just one party versus the other. Is that what our country has come down to? Like, does anybody see anything wrong with that? Like, is that does anybody see anything wrong with the two-party system here? Because how can we continue to do that forever where it's just, oh, if the Republicans help the Democrats, then it'll help them. And if the Democrats help the Republicans, we can't do that because then we're helping the other party. And then is it never about what's good for Americans and what's good for the country and what's good for our economy and what's good for the, like, is something wrong with this picture? I don't know. Do you feel like that it's ever going to change? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Okay, next up here is Representative Pramila Jayapal. on Democratic representative from the Progressive Caucus on her thoughts on the stimulus package. Here we go. And I should say her thoughts on Joe Manchin.
So what does this mean for the fate of the White House agenda in Congress? Joining me now is Washington Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. And Congresswoman, let me start there. Joe Manchin's referring to this current inflation issue as an inflation tax. What do you see and what do you tell your constituents? Because on one hand, wages are up, and on the other hand, cost of living is up.
Well, Chuck, that's exactly right. I mean, that is what we're hearing from my constituents. They're not talking about inflation, by the way. They're talking about, hey, I don't have enough money in my budget to pay for the things I need to pay for. And the reason I say it that way is because it's really important to understand that if you're on a fixed budget, as many people are, as I have been in my life, then what you're always trying to do is balance what you have to spend with what you have in that budget. The way that we can fix that immediately while the supply chain issues are being worked out, while the economy recovers from COVID and the worst economic downturn we've seen in recent history, is we can actually help families cut their costs. How do we do that? We passed the Build Back Better Act. We cut childcare costs in half by assuring that no family is going to pay more than 7%. We ensure that pre-K is provided for 3- and 4-year-olds. We cut the cost of pharmaceutical drugs so that people can actually pay less for their health care. Those are the things that are going to immediately affect people's pocketbooks. And that is why it is so important to pass the Build Back Better Act, which I think is actually going to help people survive through this time of recovery. Let's be clear. It is going to take time to recover. We knew that. We have made tremendous progress on COVID, but my families are telling me, look, I still don't have childcare. My kids are just starting to get vaccinated and go back to school. That's the uncertainty that families are living with, and we have to respond by cutting their costs, which is exactly what we do in Build Back Better.
Look, I'm curious because of Joe Manchin's concerns on this, are you open to retooling some parts of Build Back Better because I know the way it would work, the first couple of years, it might be some deficit spending, and then as it sort of works its way through, it eventually gets paid for. Do you imagine that becomes part of the conversation with Senator Manchin and moderates who are concerned about adding anything that could increase inflation? I mean, I've seen one study now that the way Build Back Better is written, as it's written right now, it would have a small inflationary impact in the first few years.
Well, look, if people were worried about deficit spending, then they probably shouldn't have voted for the infrastructure bill, because that did increase the deficit slightly. The reality is we've been negotiating Build Back Better for many months, and it will be paid for completely. The agreement that we made with my 6 colleagues in the House that we're waiting for some additional fiscal information, not a CBO score, Chuck, I want to make sure you know that, but actually just some fiscal information so they could look at it, make sure that it matched up with what the JCT, the Joint Committee on Taxation, and the White House had provided to them around the costs of some of these investments we're making and the revenues we're going to get back. The minute that those generally match up, but no later than next week, these 6 are going to vote for this bill, and we're going to pass it through. Everyone's been talking about how important it is for our constituents. What they do in the Senate should be everything, almost everything in this bill was pre-conference. There were 1 or 2 things that were not yet totally agreed to. Those should be the only things left on the table, and we should get it passed and deliver for the American people.
You have any regrets for decoupling? I mean, you didn't want to decouple the 2 bills for fear that moderates could walk away. This is the type of sort of, news event that could come in and sort of upend things. Any regrets on agreeing to decouple and letting the infrastructure bill pass?
I don't have regrets. Do I wish that we could have passed both bills? And do I wish that the 6 Democrats that didn't want to vote for it, suddenly at the last minute said they wouldn't vote for Build Back Better, had not done that? Of course. I wish we could have passed them both. But I will tell you that we got the next best thing, which is we were able to actually, number one, deliver the votes for the infrastructure bill. It would not have happened without progressive votes, and we had to make that choice at the last minute. But also, number two, that we got, in spite of all the pressure raining down on us to just get the biff passed, get the votes done. What we did is we held out so that we could get a very clear agreement from the 6th that 10 days later we would pass the Build Back Better Act through the House. So I always say, Chuck, that negotiations, and you know this, negotiations are always changing, right? They change with the conditions on the ground. And what you have to do is be creative enough to put a solution on the table that may not have been on the table before, that will still get you to the goal that you are pushing for. Our goal was to pass Build Back Better through the House, and I'm very confident we will do that next week.
Is there anything you think the administration or you in Congress should attempt to do to alleviate the gas price pain temporarily?
Well, I know, I was listening to your segment. I know that the administration is looking at all the options on the table. But again, I want to say that the gas price is an indication for families of other things that they are feeling. It isn't really that you have to reduce the gas price. What you have to do is reduce the cost for families so that they can manage. Now, we just cannot gloss over the fact that wages have also risen. So the actual impact that people are feeling right now is real, but it is also smaller. It's the fear that people have. So what can we do to alleviate that fear and any increase that they are seeing? It doesn't have to be through lowering gas prices. That's what I'm saying with Build Back Better. If we lower costs, that's what a family is looking at. That's what my families are saying is, look, the gas is one thing, but if I can get my childcare paid for, heck, I'm in. I'm good for that. So I think that's how we should be looking at it. And sometimes the economic views of inflation or, massive rises in inflation, that's not really how people experience things on the ground. And I just think that's important to keep in mind.
Yeah, so you can see here there is several different things that are currently in this bill that are going to reduce the cost on various different things. So the cost of childcare, the cost of prescription drug pricing, the cost of healthcare, and it also included the child tax credit, those monthly checks that are going to end on December 15th will be the last monthly payment to 65 million children if they can't pass this next package. That's in about a month. By the way, the November 15th payment is probably going out starting about now. They normally send it out a few days early. So it's probably starting to go out now here, maybe in the next day or so. And the December 15th payment is going to really be up in jeopardy because the debt limit is actually before then. So that's going to be estimated around December 3rd, which is at the date that the Treasury will potentially run out of money. And if the Treasury runs out of money, that payment might not actually go out. They need to actually pass the stimulus package before then. And then we've also had the President Biden and Senator Bernie Sanders and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer had said that if the debt limit does actually hit and the Treasury runs out of money, that actually could affect or delay Social Security payments, that actually could affect payments to the military, payments to our servicemen, payments to bond interest, payments of the credit rating of the United States, pretty much everything, the entire economy, stock market, pretty much everything you can think about. And that is estimated to happen somewhere around December 3rd. It could be a little bit later because the Treasury has already been doing what they call extraordinary measures to basically try to spend less. And the Democrats still have not confirmed to us if the debt limit extension is even going to be in this package, if they're going to be even able to pass the package in the House and Senate by then. They're going to try to vote on the package in the House in 3 days from now, on November 15th. The details that need to happen by then is the Congressional Budget Office score. We're waiting for that to come back and give us the details on the math behind the bill, the pay-fors behind the bill, what's in the bill. which is literally changing by the day here, and whether or not the moderates in the House and the progressives in the House are going to vote for it. So a lot's going to happen here within the next 48 hours here, and we're going to find out if they're going to vote on it on the 15th, if the moderates are satisfied with whatever Congressional Budget Office report comes back, and if it's enough for the moderates to say, okay, we're willing to vote on it on the 15th, which is now slightly more than 48 hours away. So we're going to have really a lot of things coming out here to vote on it in the House. Then when they vote on it in the House, it goes over to the Senate with Senator Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema and fireworks because, yeah, there's going to be a lot of things going on there. And the bill is probably going to change significantly. And Bernie Sanders, it's going to really be Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin. And, Bernie Sanders, I think, is going to really try to stand up for the people and do a lot there and see what he can get added in versus Joe Manchin to see what he can get removed. So remember, email, call, tweet Senator Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin because they're going to negotiate at the last moment. And as things get removed, things can get added in as well. And I'll keep you up to date with what will happen here. So remember to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so you don't miss out on new videos. All you got to literally do is just click subscribe down below. And then after subscribe, you can click the bell icon that appears next to subscribe to get notifications when we go live, reminders, which is every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will keep you up to date with everything going on here in our country. You can click here to watch my newest stimulus package update video. And you can click here to see my newest video on 9 different stimulus checks and stimulus programs going on in various different states, cities, counties, and different stimulus programs. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.